Yo people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. Big up your damn selves into the building, and of course there's a lot to discuss. We're going to be talking about the winners and the losers of Frank Lampard's incoming interim management of this squad, and I want to talk about a little bit of irony as well, so you can get the full circle, the full understanding of just how wild and wondrous this all is. Insanity. Frank Lampard, his last game was in January when he was sacked. His next game would have been Wolves at home. Guess who his next game is now? Wolves at home. The first game that Tuchel ever managed, 1-1 at home to Wolves. Now Lampard's got Wolves at home. So he's basically just continuing on from his sacking. And also, he got through the group stages in that Champions League campaign. He never got to finish off the job because Tuchel did it for him. And what does he get to do now? Finish off the job in the Champions League. Is he going to get it done? God help us all. I don't think so. But he's got the chance, and everybody deserves a chance in life, right? Let's get into the winners and losers, because the winners are about to get a chance. I'll tell you that for free. And the losers, well, you're about to hold some L's, because somebody's going to miss out on Frank Lampard's 11 and his squad, because there's only so many places and it's a big, massive squad to pick from. So let's get into our first winner. The first name that I'm pulling out the hat is Mason Mount, the obvious one. Let's just get it out the way. This guy is starving. This guy is on the desert, hungry. This guy is hot. This guy is drained and drenched, but not in water, until he saw Lampard. Lampard is the mirage. Lampard is the lake. He is the savior. He is the God. He is the father. He is Frankie Lampard. He's going to bring Mason Mount back into this team and revive and rejuvenate and replenish and replace his career. And I'm telling you, it's obvious, so I may as well get out the way. This guy made him captain. He made Mason Mount captain in his final game, almost like handing on the baton in a relay race, almost like giving him his token, handing him that last good luck charm before he left. He knew he was going to be sacked after the Leicester game, but just before he left, he handed Mason Mount the captaincy. That is a big thing. And Mason Mount delivered under Frank Lampard. When he was on the cusp of being sacked, he was one of the few players, I remember it, particularly that game at Craven Cottage, he was one of the few players that was actually still trying to play for the manager. There is a bond there. It's clear for everybody to see. There is a real bond there. And best believe when Lampard comes in against Wolves this weekend, Mason Mount is going to be contending for a starting place. He's going to be resurrected. So Mason Mount is a massive winner in all this because he hasn't been involved recently. My first loser is Cucurella. I think we're going to go to a 4. I think we're going to switch to a back 4 again. Obviously, he played a 4-3-3 when he was last here. That is his favourite formation. That's the formation that he played in for all of those years at Chelsea most of the time. Yes, sometimes we played a diamond. Sometimes we played this and that. But most of the time, he played, even the Christmas tree, but most of the time he played a 4-3-3 in his playing career. And when he was managing us, apart from the odd away performance at Ajax, he played usually a 4-3-3. So I think he's going to go back to that. That's what he knows how to coach. And I think Mason Mount, of course, is going to flourish from it. But also, I think that Cucurella is going to suffer from it, because I think Chilwell is going to pip him and get that left back spot. And Cucurella is going to fall by the wayside. Chilwell was part of the Lampard signings. I think he's going to take a shine to Chilwell, of course. And Chilwell's been playing really well for Chelsea recently, whereas Cucurella's had those little errors here and there. So I think Cucurella's in big trouble. My next W is Mendy. I think Mercurial Mendy, Miraculous Mendy, Magnificent Mendy, Majestic Mendy is going to be back in the team, because Kepa had his worst season statistically I've ever seen from a goalkeeper under Lampard. Now, obviously Lampard has to take responsibility for that as well. The defence maybe being too open, too many shots faced, not kind of catering to Kepa's weaknesses and refusing shots from range. I don't know. Anthony Barry came in the end and gave us some sort of defensive stability, but also Mendy came in as well. That was one of the signings in that summer, the goalkeeper. And I think after playing with Petr Cech, the cross collection, the reach, the commanding figure, he's going to want that in goal, that presence. And Mendy has literally been injured for quite some time, but has been back on the bench recently. And I think he's going to get back into the team. And Kepa is going to fall back to the wayside. Lampard will be scarred. He will be traumatized from what he saw from Kepa in that season. And I think Kepa is going to put himself back onto the bench. That's my winner. And then Kepa is my loser. So You've got 2 winners now and 2 losers. Mason Mount, Mendy as your winners, and losers, Kepa and Cucurella. 2 Spanish men, unfortunately for them. Another winner is Madueke. Madueke has not been featuring enough. He's not really been featuring at all. He's been coming off the bench here and there in little cameos, but I think there's more to come from this player. On either flank, I think there's more to come from this player. He's got massive burst of pace, explosive pace. He's a very good dribbler, takes on players, very brave, happy to have a shot. I think Lampard's going to like working with him. He's young. He's got the raw, minerals. He's got the raw credentials to work with, the foundations. I think this is a bright player. He's an upbeat player. He seems to be like fantastic around the dressing room in terms of his overall personality. I think Lampard's going to take a shine to him. And I remember when Lampard signed Ziyech, another left-footed right winger, because Chelsea wanted to find that balance. He scored that incredible goal for Ajax against Chelsea. That wonder of a left foot. I think he's going to look at that, and I don't necessarily think he's going to go to Ziyech and think, oh, I'm going to bring you back from the dead, because Ziyech nearly went to PSG. He's probably on his way out in the summer. I think he's going to lean towards the younger players a lot. He's still a young manager. I think he's going to lean to the younger players, and I think he's going to want to set Chelsea up for the following season with players that plan to be here next season. I don't think he's going to start making players that aren't really important, integral pieces, unless he feels he has to, or tactically it's kind of negligent if he doesn't, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But I think Madueke versus Ziyech is one of those trade-offs where you just go with Madueke because he's probably got a wider scope of talent than Ziyech in terms of having that actual pace to beat players, and he has that left foot where he can give us a delivery and he can give us a shot, and Ziyech is not consistent with those things in terms of the shot, and he doesn't score a lot of goals anyway, so you're not really losing much. You may as well go with the younger guy and develop him. Probably suits you to do so. So I'm going to go with Madueke. Another person I think who's going to be collecting an L is Koulibaly. When Silva comes back, especially, I think he's meant to be back in April, and we are in April. But even if he's not, Badiashile, Fofana, Trevor Chalobah as a backup. I think the 2 starting centre-backs will most likely be, for me, Badiashile and Fofana. One left footer, one right footer, playing out from the back in a 4. Badiashile hasn't put a foot wrong really since he's come in. I don't really know why he's been exiled the squad or exiled from the starting lineup as many times as he has recently. But I think Lampard's going to see him with his commanding aerial presence, with his good ball playing ability, his calmness and composure, and I think he's going to take a shine to it and put him back in the team. Koulibaly's a bit rash. He's had a few little errors here and there recently. He's still a bit jittery. I think he's going to just go with the tried and tested in Badiashile at the moment. And also, Badiashile, if Chilwell bombs really far forward, can kind of cover better for him as the left-sided defender because he's left-footed, so he can get out into those wide areas and still defend on his favoured left foot, whereas Koulibaly, it's a lot more awkward. So tactically, I think it just makes sense to just give yourself that potential of doing that and allowing Chilwell to bomb forward and give him that cover. Another W, and this is where it comes to, negligence, and you're playing a 4-3-3. Who is the only real holding midfielder in the team? Because Kante's a box-to-box. Enzo's not really a sitter. It's Zakaria, and Zakaria's barely been involved. So Zakaria, for me, gets a W purely by default because he's the only person of that profile in the squad. Lampard always wanted a DM. Declan Rice was linked, etc. Zakaria is not Declan Rice, but he's someone that could sit down, hold it together. And I don't expect him to start games, but if we're winning games, I think he actually might turn to Zakaria before he turns to Gallagher as an actual holder and sitter and a John Obi Mikel-esque type, player that he's going to try and use to see out a game. I think that could be a possibility. Another L is between 2 players. I think it's between Kai Havertz and between Felix. I don't think it's both, but I think it's one or the other, purely because they're kind of like free spirits. And I don't think Lampard's going to have 2 free spirits in the same squad. I think he's going to use Sterling. I don't think he's going to use these guys in the same starting 11. I think he'll cater maybe for one as a false 9 or wherever they'll play, because they don't really have always set positions. These guys, they like to roam and drift and glide and glitter. And I don't think he's going to have more than one glider. I think he's just about happy enough to have one max, but I don't think he's going to have 2. So one of these guys are gonna fall off from the team sheet. I'm not sure which one. My eggs would maybe go towards keeping Felix in the team and putting Kai on the bench. But that's just because, Kai at this point is just, he's frustrating me. Felix is frustrating sometimes for a lot of people as well, but he's new. And Kai has been here a long time, and at least with Felix, I feel like there's something to work towards. Kai is kind of regressing into the point where we've seen a lot of him now, so it's 3 years deep. There's not really much more I can hope for. Whereas Felix, at least you could say with a different manager, with more time, he could improve and get better, and so one of the two. And then Aubameyang could potentially catch a W as my final W. And again, this is just in the case that Lampard sees the training. He has a great respect and understanding of shooting technique. He understands that these players in the attack that we have don't really have a go-to finish. They don't really have a consistent way of finishing. They don't have a type of finish that they execute purely and consistently. And once he spots that, he's going to have to do one of two things. One, keep them in for extra hours, detention style, and make them train until they find their finish. Or B, reincorporate Aubameyang at least onto the bench, so we have an opportunity to get a goal from somewhere, even if he's not completely, proper Chelsea, and he's not completely, willing to die for the badge. And that is something that Lampard will obviously really want to see in all of his players. He'll want players that want to play for Chelsea. So that is a very big kind of crutch in this Aubameyang conversation. He's going to have to show that he wants to actually play. But if Aubameyang says, do you know what, I'm wiping the slate clean, Potter's not here anymore, and I want to try and get game time under Frank, and Aubameyang starts banging goals in training, I think Lampard's going to be like, do you know what, I need somebody who can score. I'm not always going to start you, maybe, but I'm going to at least have you on the bench, and you're going to come off the bench. And that's a W for Aubameyang, because he's not even on the bench. So that's why I've put him in there. Big up your damn selves as always. Smash up the likes. Make sure you let me know, who do you believe are going to get their W's and their L's. 5 people that are winners, 5 people that are losers from Lampard coming in as interim. And I will see you guys for the next video. Big up. In a bit, people. Peace.